Mic check. Hi everyone, my name is Mason and I work for Comet Backup here in New Zealand. Welcome along to another Technical Highlights webinar. During these webinars I talk for about half an hour on some Comet topics. So there is a Comet webinar every fortnight. We alternate each fortnight. It will either be an introductory webinar for new users, or it will be a more in-depth one where I talk about new Comet features, best practice tips, IT industry news. Today I'm going to talk about a few different topics, including our brand new software version, Comet 20.5 Aurora, and some of the features in it. Now, some of these features I have actually talked about last month if you managed to catch my previous webinar, and that video is currently available on our YouTube channel. So if you've seen it already, or if you managed to catch up last month, then there is going to be a bit of the same content again today, but some differences, sort of an expanded and different version. So you'll still come away having learned something new. Before I get started on that, I want to run through a real quick COVID-19 update. Obviously, this is a major international event. It affects us all. It affects us all in different ways. At Comet, we of course want to make sure that all of our MSP partners get through this crisis as best as possible. So heartfelt best wishes to you and your families. And if you are experiencing financial hardship and it's affecting your backup services, please just let us know, because there's probably a few different ways we can help, starting with, of course, bill relief. Around the world, most countries are still in lockdown. But what we're seeing so far is that the IT industry seems to have just kept moving along. IT services are still needed. That includes backups. New devices coming online for people working from home, more attention given to existing IT infrastructure, more server installations, expanding capacity, so on. But of course, the impact is very uneven. Some partners have been badly affected, particularly in certain parts of the world, or if you specialize in servicing particular industries that were badly affected. And then that can obviously have a follow-on effect on your backup offering as an MSP. But you know, the IT industry in general, overall, big picture, there are reasons to be optimistic about the resilience of our market sector. That's all I really have to say about that for now. So let's just dive into the next thing I want to talk about, which is integrations. A new section on our website, Comet Integrations. So this page is accessible through the resources menu at the top, where you can browse directly to cometbackup.com/integrations. So on this page, you can see several different types of integrations. The list includes, for a start, all the cloud storage services you can use with Comet, along with their custom protocol selections if they need one. So of course, Comet supports all the major cloud storage providers, including Amazon S3, Microsoft Azure Blob Storage, and Google GCS, Google Cloud Storage. But we also support any S3 compatible or SFTP or common protocols like that. And so there's countless such services available. You know, you can go online and find hundreds of them. So our own list here is not completely exhaustive, but it's pretty good. This page also includes a lot of third-party add-ons. So if you've seen the previous third-party add-ons webinar we gave, or that's currently on our YouTube channel, that's API integration partners who can provide extra functionality like dashboard, CRM, billing, but also monitoring, reseller support, custom email rules, SMS integration, and things like that. And this page also includes some of our supported products for backup, like MySQL or Microsoft Exchange Server, Hyper-V, things like that. We're consolidating a lot of information into this new page. It collects together a lot of information that I guess until now it's been spread out pretty widely across the website and through the documentation. This is going to be the one place where it all comes together with a list of products and services that can integrate with Comet. And of course, the list gets pretty long, so you can filter by type using the buttons in this row. You just click a button for dashboards and it will show you all the product integrations you can use to get a dashboard. You know, whether that's a customer status dashboard or successful jobs or something like that. This last bullet point, contact us for listening, is not really aimed at Comet MSPs yourselves, but if anyone on this webinar today wants to market towards other Comet MSPs, for instance, if you represent one of these three types, if you represent a pure storage provider, or if you've built an API integration with Comet that you want to make it available to other Comet MSPs, please get in touch as we're actively working to expand this list. You know, there's a range of possible things we can do together, co-marketing and things like that. So that's the new integrations page. Check it out. It's really cool. Just scroll through it and you'll definitely find something interesting. Next on my list to talk about is the main news point of the month, and that is we are happy to announce the release of our latest software version, Comet 20.5.0, codename Aurora. So it's available now. We released this 2 days ago on Monday 25th. If you're hosting your own Comet Enterprise server, the release is available now for you to download from cometbackup.com. Just go to the My Service page and download the latest version. If you're using a hosted Comet Go service, then the upgrade will be available in the next day or two. So Comet 20.5 Aurora represents the whole of our last 3-month development cycle, bringing you 17 new features and another 17 new enhancements to enhancements of existing features. And I'll go into some of these features in a bit more depth. Not all of them. You can read the changelog on our website for more details, but I will cover some of the major ones. Quarterly long-term support. Just to summarize, you might know this already, but we have 2 release tracks for Comet. We develop Comet every day, and our weekly development lands in Voyager. And then once every 3 months, we take a snapshot of Voyager and settle upon it with long-term support. So it's great if you don't want to upgrade Comet every single week, just do it quarterly for the major releases, and you'll still be able to get support, bug fixes, and so on. So it's been about 3 months since the last one. We did 20.2 Iris back in February, and now it's time for us to do this again. Snapshot up all the changes from Voyager in the last 3 months and make a new long-term support release for you all. And you can see that in the version numbers here, 20.5. It's roughly year.month, roughly, some exceptions, but it's close to being year.month. The code name, of course, Aurora Borealis, the Northern Lights, is the beautiful effect with the, the solar wind and the magnetosphere. You can see it in the far north. And for us down here in the southern hemisphere in New Zealand, we've got our own Aurora Australis. But actually, there's quite a few things named Aurora. There's an American spacecraft, European ESA program, all named after the Roman goddess. Comet's code name comes from the asteroid and the asteroid belt. Normally, I can dig up quite a lot of cool space facts about these asteroids. I don't have too many today. The asteroid was discovered in the 1800s. It's small, doesn't reflect much light. The code names that we use for Comet releases all come from solar system objects. So we started out with our first release a few years ago now, Comet Mercury, in the inner solar system, and we had several software releases every 3 months. We moved out through the inner planets. We've been in the asteroid belt for a while now. After all of these asteroids comes Jupiter. Jupiter is a big planet. We're saving that Jupiter code name for when something big happens in Comet, and that will take place before the end of the year. So that's Comet 20.5 Aurora. It's out now. Please try it. Raise a support ticket if you have any feedback about the new version. And I'm just going to move on and start talking about some of the features that's in it. I'm not going to talk about all 17 plus 17, 34 of them, just some of the main ones. To get started with, two-factor authentication. So Comet has supported two-factor authentication for a long time, but there are just some new things about it to point out. Firstly, the feature is a lot easier to use. It's easier to turn on and off. We're down to a single switch. The registration dialog with the QR code will just automatically appear when you need it, so that's a lot simpler now. Another new thing, and you can see it in the screenshot, is we now prompt you to enter a valid code before saving changes, and this just helps make sure that you've got the code set up correctly inside your Authenticator app. So TOTP is a time-based code system. You know, the codes, 6-digit codes that change every 30 seconds on your smartphone. It's really important that the time is actually set correctly on your Comet server and on your phone. So just having a single code prompt up front means that we can check that the system is working end to end. Instead of, before now you'd enable it, and if the time was set wrong somewhere, you just get locked out straight away. So this is a big improvement. But probably the most major improvement in two-factor authentication for the latest version has been the ability to enable TOTP for end users. So an end user can log into the Comet server web interface, turn on TOTP, and then when they log into the desktop app, they'll be prompted for their TOTP code. So this is a nice way to improve security a little bit, if you're worried about the customer's password not being very strong, or if an attacker takes over the PC, things like that. Now, this feature does come with a bit of a disclaimer. It does provide two-factor security, and we do recommend using it, but it only defends against some certain threats. In particular, we want scheduled backup jobs to keep running in the background. And there's no way to get a second factor in there. Even if the background jobs did the TOTP handshake, they would need to do it automatically, so it would still only be one factor. So two-factor authentication doesn't protect against the background tasks. So if a hacker manages to get on the PC and could take over the background tasks, then there's still a problem there. It depends a bit on your threat model. If you're dealing with an attacker and they've just taken over the current PC login session and they're not an administrator, then this is this is secure. It's a good defense. But if the attacker manages to run as administrator and they can take over the background services somehow, then two-factor is not necessarily going to help, although it may still be a useful layer for defense and depth layering. There's one more important part to this, client-side security, which is a new policy option to always require a password to open the desktop app. Now, the desktop app has several kind of states. You can use the lock button or the disconnect button, or you can just hit the X in the corner. Sometimes the app gets locked, and sometimes it gets minimized to the system tray. But if you turn on this new checkbox in the policy, the app will always lock itself when you hide the main window. And that way you can be sure that the password and two-factor is required for login. So that's a few new features for two-factor authentication and client-side security. The next few things I want to talk about also touch on client-side security. I'm very pleased to announce that Comet now supports remote file browse. That is using the live connection system in Comet so that you as an admin can browse the customer's PC remotely to select files for backup. If they let you. For our government and medical customers and everyone with high privacy requirements, obviously this could be a major breach of privacy in the wrong hands. So we do require the customer to have toggled on this feature by enabling the allow administrator to view file names checkbox inside the desktop app. This consent is kind of, it's carefully managed. It can't be forced on by an administrator. So the customer has to be sort of present in the decision, and they can verify their own consent status by looking at this dialog. So the Comet has the flexibility here to be very secure and private if it needs to be, or you can just turn this on and get this really cool new feature to remotely browse the device to help you set up and configure protected items. And it should save you time, assist with troubleshooting, and means you don't have to get within 1.5 meters of any customer. So if this feature is enabled, you will see a new browse button on the protected item dialog. And we're talking about files and folders protected item type for now, not any of the other protected item types, although that may be coming soon. So a little browse button. And if you click it, you can just pick and choose files on the customer's PC. And this goes over the live connection system. So obviously the customer will have to be online for this to work. If you're familiar with picking files inside the Comet Backup desktop app, then this just works in the identical way. Just use the checkboxes to include and exclude files from your selection. We can also make use of this technology when going to restore. Once again, only if the device has allowed it and it's online. Then when you go to restore, you'll be able to click this browse button on the right. And you can browse the customer's PC and choose exactly where you want the restore to go to. It's a pretty self-explanatory feature, but I'm sure everyone will find it to be incredibly helpful for troubleshooting. It's been a long time coming, and I'm glad we've managed to deliver this feature in a way that can be both privacy preserving when needed and also giving a really easy experience for MSPs. So that's remote file browse. Now that's not the only new remote action in Comet 20.5 Aurora. There are two other main ones that I'd like to talk about. And both of these two new features are available on all our target desktop OS platforms. Remote uninstall. Have you ever seen that situation where you've deleted an account, but the customer keeps trying to log in again, and it starts filling up your logs with failed access attempts? Now there's a new feature to remotely uninstall the app. You get the option to remove the saved credentials too, just like when you manually uninstall the software. And you can either do this manually from the live connections dialog, or if you go to delete a user account, there's a pop-up where you can choose if you want to do this or not. So this is just a nice to have small feature. Some remote management situations helps you keep your server logs a bit tidier. We saw a bit of demand for this feature, and now it's available. There's actually another button here in the bottom right labeled Update Login URL. Now, a quick refresher. Depending on how you have your Comet server set up, Comet server is split into roles that you can turn on and off. The main ones are the auth role, where user accounts log in and it keeps all the job history. And there's also the storage role that can hold user data or proxy it forward into cloud storage. Now, if you ever need to migrate your Comet server, There's a few different ways of doing that. In the past, we've suggested to people that if you need to migrate a Comet server, just migrate the server's DNS record so the customer is still connecting to the same DNS address and doesn't see any visible change. That's still a good idea, but it's not always feasible. So the other option is to remotely reconfigure what URLs the client is using for these two roles. You've always been able to update the storage role URL by going to the customer's detail page, open up their storage vault, changing the Comet URL in there. But in terms of the login URL that you see when opening the desktop app, it's now possible to remotely redirect that too by using this new live connection remote control feature. Speaking of auth role storage role, yet another major new feature in Comet 20.5 Aurora is the brand new direct to Wasabi support. So once again, another quick refresher, Comet Backup obviously supports cloud storage. With Comet, you can either set up cloud storage inside the Comet Backup app, where data goes straight to the cloud, or you can set it up inside the Comet server, where data goes from the customer to your Comet server to the cloud storage. And there's pros and cons for both ways. Going through the Comet server is an extra hop, a little bit slower, but it means there's a fully branded, fully managed layer in between, and so we can make use of the Comet server's bucket security system, and so the Comet server manages all the security around that. Whereas if you put the cloud storage directly inside Comet Backup, the backup job will be a little bit faster because it doesn't have to traverse through the Comet server, but then there's no branding. You need to manually create buckets for each customer to keep the security isolation separate from customers separate from each other, so that's a bit of work. Pros and cons. We have been slowly adding support for a third model where the Comet server creates new direct-to-cloud buckets. This gives you the security of the proxy method with the performance of the direct method, so kind of some of the best of both worlds. Now today we're talking about Wasabi. You may have heard of them. They're a cloud storage provider with data centers in the US and EU. They have very competitive pricing, but not only that, they have fast speeds, unlimited bandwidth. They are a major, well-funded organization, and they are pretty popular amongst Comet users. And importantly, they have an API where we can make sub-buckets. So Comet can now make use of that to automatically create storage vaults direct to Wasabi. So the way this works is in the Comet server setup wizard, you fill in your Wasabi account details, and then when it's time to allocate a new storage vault for a customer, Comet will go and create private Wasabi IAM keys so that each user can have their own secure isolated access to a subfolder inside your master Wasabi bucket for their backup jobs. We already supported this for Backblaze B2 cloud storage in this way. Backblaze are another very popular, cost-effective cloud storage provider. We've just recently extended this to support Wasabi. Just to be clear, Comet does support a lot of cloud storage providers: S3, Amazon AWS, Google Cloud, Azure Blob Storage, OpenStack, Catalyst, Rackspace, OVH, Allian, as well as B2 Wasabi and many others. It's just that for most of those, you have to use one of these first two modes that I was talking about. Either create keys yourself for each customer or proxy the traffic through the Comet server storage role mode. It's just that for B2 and Wasabi, we support this new third way to automatically create sub keys and push them to the client for safe, easy, fast, direct-to-cloud backup. And we may roll that out to more providers in the future if they have the kind of support we need for it. But we need to do this on a provider-by-provider basis. The last missing piece to make this really attractive for customers is the brand new ability to hide the cloud storage branding entirely. So what you're seeing here in this screenshot is an Amazon S3 storage vault and a Wasabi storage vault inside the customer's account, and the customer has no idea that the MSP is using this low-cost cloud storage. So this is a policy option that you can turn on for some customers and not others. It hides the name and icon logo for all cloud storage providers. So normally you'd be seeing here the Amazon logo and the Wasabi logo, but when this policy option is enabled, they just get replaced with this big cloud icon. You can see the description has also changed to a generic description in the type column in the web interface. So this is really cool, and coupled with the new direct to Wasabi support and the existing direct to B2 support and all of other Comet's other cloud providers, this can help you move to moving direct to cloud backups instead of proxying through the storage role. Take advantage of that performance uplift. Now, hiding is just hiding. It's still possible for someone to figure it out. The most basic way is if you just go edit the storage vault settings, you'll see the connection details there. So normally, we would couple this with the policy to prevent editing storage vaults. That's basically it. We would probably recommend always using these two policies together in this way. You can never hide it completely, because if you want the traffic to go direct to cloud, then the customer can always look at their firewall or monitor the traffic on their router, use Wireshark or use Burp Suite. Programs like that let you see where the network traffic is going. If you're really worried about that case, then probably this feature just isn't for you, and you still need to proxy the data using the Comet Server storage role features. But this is probably good enough to hide it for almost everyone. So if you're currently using cloud storage and the Comet Server storage role, then this new feature might be the push you need to get the data going direct to cloud from the client app. And if the Comet Server doesn't have to proxy traffic all the time, that can take a huge load off your Comet Server and free up quite a lot of resources. So you'll see even better performance out of the whole system. Those were the main few features I wanted to talk about today. Last few things I want to say is almost all of the features we've added recently came from customer requests. Your requests, we really appreciate all the feedback. We do listen to our MSPs, and if you have a strong need for a feature, we'll definitely talk about adding it. Please check out our feature request system on the Comet Backup website. You can create a new feature request or upvote an existing one. We look at the system often, and all of the votes and comments do help guide our development priorities. And it's really great to see sometimes you'll raise a feature request and other people will chime in and say, oh, I want this too. And you'll get a notification immediately when the feature is ready or when there's any news about it. When I checked it today, we were up to 68 completed requests. We really do get around to developing them. Maybe not straight away, but we are making seriously good progress through the list. So if you've got some new ideas for Comet that could make your life easier, then come on and raise a new feature request, or at this rate, we'll get through the list. The other thing I want to just reiterate is Comet Server's great API support. So the Comet Server web interface itself is built using the public API. Anything that you can do by clicking around in the web interface, you can automate by developing an API integration. Whether that's maybe building a new sign-up form for your website, or building custom reporting tools or scripts to integrate with your RMM software. Our API is really easy to use. If you're a software developer or if you can hire a software developer, then it's really easy to get started. Documentation is really comprehensive. It's up to date with all of these latest Comet 20.5 Aurora features that I've been talking about. There's a lot of sampled code and SDKs to work with, and we even have YouTube tutorials. So there's nothing stopping you. Go out, enhance your Comet Server experience. Maybe it's a customer-facing idea, or if you've got some back-end processing that needs doing, it's all possible. Uh, 23 minutes in. That's just about all I have for today. Are there any questions? We've got a little bit of time left. If you do have any questions, this webinar platform does have a chat panel on the right, so just type in your question and I'll do my best to answer it live. Just to recap, we talked about COVID-19, the new integrations page on the website, the launch of Comet 20.5 Aurora and some of the new features in it, such as two-factor for customer accounts, remote file browse, remote uninstall, remote change URL, direct to Wasabi support, hide the cloud storage branding, and a quick mention of our feature request system and our API. I see one question here. Do you know when Office 365 and G Suite boosters will be available? We are actually working on this project as we speak, definitely before the end of the year for Office 365. No other questions? Oh, if there's no other questions, oh, here we go. A master key for restores. So the question is it possible to have a master key for restores? I think in this case, obviously Comet has to meet a lot of different use cases, people with different privacy requirements. The short answer is the necessary encryption material is protected by the customer's own password. If you have the allow administrator to reset my password feature turned on, then that would be sufficient to decrypt all the necessary secrets to get access to the storage vault data. So my recommendation would basically be, if you think you're in this situation where you need a master key for a store, just make sure you've got the ability to reset all your customers' passwords, and then support can absolutely help you out with accessing individual storage vaults. I'm not can we block a customer from disabling this password reset? There may or may not be a policy for that. If there's not a policy for that, then I think that would be something very interesting for us to add. Just a quick reminder that we can take questions at any time through the usual ticket system at account.cometbackup.com, or you can email us at hello@cometbackup.com, or actually we do support phone calls. Our company is based in New Zealand. We do have international support staff for around the clock, level 1 technical support, but if you want a sales call, or if you want any more advanced technical support or troubleshooting, we'll need to figure out a good time that suits both us in New Zealand, UTC +12 at the moment, and in your country. So if you go to the Comet website, at the bottom of the page, you can click Contact Us, and then there's an option there to schedule a phone call. We're more than happy to jump on a call, and often that's a very quick way of clearing the air and getting answers to any questions you might have. So that's all from me. Hope you're all keeping well and safe, and the webinar series will return in 2 weeks with another new user introduction webinar, and then I'll be back the following fortnight for another technical update. Cheers.